I don't know, there seems to be something about this when you're saying this is a conversation on the boundary of where people usually stop. I think there's this kind of sadness that I have sometimes about the conversations that we're having. Sadness might be a bit too heavy a word, but that we're really underutilizing each other in I don't mean this in like a transactional exchange, but even in the words that you're using there, even if it was in the sense of support or love, um, where we could be kind of granting each other this sense of support or even aliveness, but we've decided to just that's a boundary here, let's say, and we're not going to cross it. And just the way you're talking here, some of the elements to these conversations, like even if this was in a group setting or not, or even just with your friends, this idea that people show up, they're getting to see each other. There's no agenda, so it's kind of an organic thing. And people are letting, even with these two kind of groups that you were describing, you call them as a scientific and almost as metaphysical
Yeah,
group, that they're suspending their desire to be right. So it
yeah.
almost seems like the condition is that there is space for something to emerge because we're not coming in with an agenda or a preconceived notion of a place to get to.
Beautifully put. And it is, I think, just that. I think we're so used to being in performative space,
Yeah.
of having, having to turn up and almost to know. I was at a meeting in London last week, and the person I was with was saying the thing that's really powerful about this. He says you feel really comfortable and confident in talking about what you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And and it is that, I think, that area which is where, and it just function of our education system. We're brought up to be right. We get marks for being right. We don't get marks for wondering. We don't get and we don't get we operate in a space of efficiency. We don't really make time for reflection. So we're very much into the doing space. And one of the people I use he's long dead now, but as a mentor was a guy called John Boyd, who was he founded the fighter weapons school, and he had a model called the OODA loop, which he developed when he was a fighter pilot, and it was about how to deal in the chaos of combat. And I think one of the things in there, the OODA is observe, orient, decide, act. If you're talking to people in Sabakwa and they're in trouble, it's stop, breathe, think, act. Um, and we don't get to do that. We're in such short-term performance loops that we don't get that time to pause. And I think one of the things that the conversation groups do is that they provide a space of pause. And I think one of the things that, again, has turned out to be important with it is um, there's almost an element of ritual and ceremony to it. They happen at the same time every week. We go about it the same way. We check in, we talk, we check out. Um, Lots of times people will talk to each other one on one outside of that. But it is I know at this time that is happening with these people in this way. And I can turn up there in whatever mood I am. I can be in a foul mood. I can be in a good mood. It doesn't matter. I'm recognized for who I am. I don't have to be anything in order to enter. And one of the most common comments, and this has been the case all along, when people leave the group, they actually say they have more energy when they leave than when they came in.
Hmm.
And given that these are discussions happening at 5:30 on a Thursday and 4:30 on a Friday, um, I actually find that quite powerful. It is as though they come into the thing and all this stuff they're carrying, they get to put down and then they go and have a weekend.
It reminds me of what some friends say to me sometimes when we go into certain conversations and they say something to the effect, I might get a text afterwards, even though what we discussed was kind of heavy, I still feel very light,
Yeah,
or it felt very light. And I think, look, while I'm not suggesting that everyone just opens up with their heaviest trauma or something like this and they just start having these conversations with people and they haven't explored anything, but I also think we've kind of ring fenced off just talking about what could be relatively straightforward emotional things that we just don't reference in conversations. You know, this could be someone could think this could be something for my therapist or something like that, where, just for someone to say up and state how they feel, I think there's a great liberation to that, because what you're talking about, I think a few times when you say this performance thing, it makes me feel like we're putting on an act so much.
Yeah.
Like, it's not only hitting goals, but it's also being quite performative in how we're describing things. And I don't know, I have this feeling that when you said there that somebody said, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I feel like I'm an expert in talking about it. Because I think if I were to make a hazard and a guess or an assumption, would be that they're talking about their direct experience,
Yeah.
which you're the only person that truly actually knows what your own direct experience of
Yeah.
life is right now.